All right, today we're going to dive into some of the most beautiful, ambitious, and believe it or not, wildly expensive books ever made. And they're all about birds. Let's just start with a number. Get this, $11.5 million. Yeah, that's what a single book sold for back in 2010. So that leads to the obvious question, right? How on earth does a book of bird illustrations become one of the most expensive books ever sold? Well, the answer is this incredible story of art, ambition, and honestly, a little bit of obsession. Because, you see, this wasn't just any book. This was one man's masterpiece, a quest to do something nobody thought was possible.
The book in question is The Birds of America, and its creator was the legendary John James Audubon. His goal sounds kind of simple, but it was absolutely monumental, to paint every single bird in North America.
And when I say monumental, I mean it literally. They call it the double elephant folio because the pages are huge. We're talking over 3 feet tall. And get this, today, fewer than 120 intact copies are even known to exist. It's incredibly rare. But it's also a bit of a time capsule, and a tragic one at that. It shows us birds like the passenger pigeon, which are now gone forever. But here's the thing. To really get Audubon, you have to understand he wasn't alone. He wasn't working in some kind of bubble. He was actually part of this golden age, one of 3 absolute titans of ornithological art who were all changing the game around the same time.
So let's meet these 3 titans. We're going to look at what they were trying to do, how they did it, and the incredible impact they left on the world.
Okay, so here are our key players. You've got Thomas Bewick in Britain working with wood engraving. Then, of course, there's Audubon in America with his massive copperplate etchings. And rounding out the trio is John Gould, who tackled Australia using the then new tech of lithography. So yeah, 3 guys, 3 continents, and 3 totally different ways of doing things.
So what was the point of all this for them? What was their mission? Well, it turns out they had completely different ideas about what these books were even for. So on one side, you have Thomas Bewick. His goal was, well, it was kind of revolutionary. See, at a time when books and knowledge were only for the rich, he wanted to make the first real field guide, something affordable and accessible for everybody. And then you have Audubon, who was doing the exact opposite. He was creating this jaw-dropping, life-sized work of art meant for the wealthiest collectors. It wasn't about access. It was all about artistic glory.
And then there's our third guy, John Gould, the Birdman. He was a different beast entirely. Part naturalist, part really savvy businessman. His ambition was huge and scientific. He wanted to create a complete, rigorous survey of all the birds on an entire continent, Australia.
Okay, so they had different missions. It makes sense they had different methods, too. So how did they actually make these amazing pictures come to life?
Bewick's technique was wood engraving, and he was a master. Instead of carving along the soft grain of the wood, he carved into the hard end grain. Think of it like a jeweler working on a tiny, detailed piece. This let him get these incredibly fine lines. And here's the key. Those wood blocks were super durable, which meant he could print thousands and thousands of affordable copies. Perfect for his mission.
Audubon's process was, let's just say it was intense. First, he'd shoot the bird. Then, he'd use this whole complicated setup of wires and threads to pose it. This was a game changer. See, before him, bird illustrations were pretty stiff, just profiles. Audubon captured them in action, hunting, fighting, taking flight. His art had this drama that nobody had ever seen. Then those paintings were engraved on giant copper plates to be printed.
Now, Gould, he went for a more modern technique called lithography. It's actually based on a really simple idea. Oil and water don't mix. You draw on a flat stone with a greasy crayon, roll ink over it, and the ink only sticks to the greasy drawing. This created these beautiful, soft, lifelike images that were then meticulously colored in by hand. And this really shows you how different Gould's whole operation was. He was more like a project manager, a director. He wasn't just the artist. He hired a whole team of them, including his amazing wife Elizabeth and even the famous Edward Lear to bring his grand vision to life. But this incredible ambition had a huge human cost. John and his wife Elizabeth actually traveled to Australia together for the project. But tragically, soon after they got back to England, Elizabeth died. She had just created some of her most beautiful art. She was only 37 years old. So despite the immense challenges and personal tragedies, the work these 3 men created left this profound legacy, one that touched science,
art, and even literature. And each legacy is totally unique. Bewick? He brought nature to the masses. His book even gets a famous shout-out in the opening of Jane Eyre. Audubon? He created an American icon and a crucial scientific record. And Gould? He literally discovered over 300 new species in Australia, completely changing our understanding of biology.
I mean, you really can't overstate Bewick's cultural impact. Even the great poet William Wordsworth wrote about him, basically saying he wished he had Bewick's artistic genius. That's high praise. So you see, these men didn't just make books. They weren't just catalogs of birds. They captured a vision of the natural world that, honestly, still inspires a sense of awe today.
Which brings us right back to where we started, the money. Back in 1838, a full set of Audubon's book would have set you back about $1,000, which was an absolute fortune then. But by 2010, that price had ballooned to an unbelievable $11.5 million.
And that really makes you think, doesn't it? What is the true value here? Is it that number, the millions of dollars at auction? Or is it something else? Is it the decades of work, the dangerous journeys, the pure artistic obsession that's on every single page?
And maybe the biggest question, the one for us right now, is this. In a world where some of the beautiful creatures in these books are now gone forever, what is their value to us today? Because they're not just art anymore, are they? They're a beautiful and kinda heartbreaking reminder of what we've already lost.